Afternoon. I want to share this with you that somebody sent to me. I think it's very, very important. There's an organization here in Virginia called Rally Virginia. It is run by conservative women. While I have nothing against conservative women, some are my friends. I am very much against some of the items that they are pushing. Let me be clear. A few years ago, they tried to remove qualified immunity against police officers when we had the George Floyd and the Breonna Taylor and some of the other issues. And very few states were able to get that passed. Virginia was one of the states that failed to remove qualified immunity. If you're not aware of this, qualified immunity is a made-up doctrine that the Supreme Court pulled out of their nine posteriors, excuse me, to claim that police had special immunity when they were acting in their in official conduct. Sounds very similar to what the Roberts Court came up with here for our President Trump, who is blocked from any lawsuits as long as he can prove it's in his official capacity. So, you can see how ludicrous this gets. That's why before he even became president, he wanted to claim that paying a porn star that he was cheating on his wife with was somehow an official capacity. Well, in any event, you can see where we're going with this. If you have unfettered police conduct, as we are seeing under Trump 2.0, you're going to have problems. So there are a number of bills right now in the legislature. One would require them not to wear their masks, similar to what California has passed, what Minnesota is looking at, and what other jurisdictions have also put in place. But there's a particular bill here that these ladies with Raleigh, Virginia, are attempting to block, and that is House Bill 1314, which I'm going to share here with you, that a friend of mine sent. This is a conservative who does not align in every way with this particular group. They call themselves a legislative watchdog, and their alert system is Rally Radar. And you can see here Virginia Legislative Watchdog HB 1314 Civil Action. Liability of persons acting under color of law. If the police or any government official does something in their official capacity, they are acting, quote, under color of law. It's when they don't act under color of law that they can get in trouble. And what this does is to view this as a high level of concern for these ladies. They want Virginians to defeat this bill. They do not want to see qualified immunity go away. This would allow, under certain circumstances, however, the right to sue law enforcement officers and government officials for violations of constitutional rights. Their thought is alleged. Well, of course, it's all alleged until a court finds otherwise, right? While acting in their official capacity. This bill would allow lawsuits and permit courts to award compensatory damages, punitive damages, and attorney's fees. In short, it makes it easier to sue cops. Okay? Now, these folks, these ladies here do not like it. They claim it targets law enforcement rather than another way of looking at it is it holds them accountable. It encourages frivolous and politically motivated lawsuits. No doubt it will. Absolutely it will. But we have that now, don't we? It chills proactive policing and emergency response. Well, if you've read anything that I have written or seen anything I've spoken about, that should chill proactive policing. Okay? It's hard to see how it chills emergency response, however, and they don't provide any data for it, right? Since police abuse proactive policing so much, particularly regarding stings, we hope it does, in fact, chill it. It exposes taxpayers to massive legal costs and settlements, not if they're being sued in their personal capacity. And that's how it should be done as well. Remember, the police get sued frequently. And guess who pays? The government pays or the police union pays. They very rarely pay. And it really needs to come down to they must be sued in their personal capacity. And if they've done everything right, they have very little to worry about. That's what they tell us, right? If we did everything right, we have nothing to worry about with them. The same should apply here. In short, what this law really does is puts the police on par with you. They are no better than anyone else. They are not higher up as some politicos want us to believe. They're not up here and we're down here. They work for us. It's democracy, the people, and then all these others underneath, right? Including the President of the United States. That's how it was supposed to work. Okay? It is political warfare against law enforcement, so saith these persons at Raleigh, Virginia. But that is not true. And as you see, if you go to this other screen here, I may have to stop and restart it. What you can see here is some of their other concerns, right? So you can tell if you didn't read anything that they put out here that they're very, very Republican. They're against increases to a living wage. They're against sick leave. They're against no masks. This is an interesting one, right? If you read the threat report here, again, without any evidence, it says it prioritized political optics over officer safety. Really? If they're wearing a gas mask because they've responded to a chemical leak at a plant, why, that makes perfect sense. But because they want to hide their identity and rough people up, that's the political optics. It's an era of viral videos and organized crime and online harassment. Anonymity is often a safety measure, not misconduct. Well, that cuts both ways, doesn't it? As we found out in the world of sex crimes or alleged sex crimes, people harass you all the time. There's all sorts of things going around the internet talking about how it's very, very important to let all your neighbors know if there's a scary sex offender in your neighborhood. In fact, just because you're classified as a sex offender and forced to register, you're immediately lumped into, quote, the word violent sex offender. They're indistinguishable. If you're a so-called sex offender, meaning you were forced to register as such, regardless of whether you actually committed a sex offense, you immediately get called up in the word violent. Okay? So there's no evidence here. They're simply stating things without any background research or evidence at all. Okay? Somehow we accelerate police shortages in Virginia. Imagine if they said, for example, folks, that we're going to start letting teachers who have been convicted of sex offenses back into the classroom because we have a teacher shortage. People would go bananas on that. But it's okay here. We can't hurt these valuable police officers because we have a police officer shortage. Many police chiefs that I have heard over the last several years in the General Assembly have said, we don't want crooked cops. We don't want bad cops. We don't want terrible cops, even if we have a shortage. Doesn't this help hold all police officers accountable? Isn't this a good thing? But no, this is one of their negatives, right? This is one of the things that they can't be bothered with, right? Elimination of mandatory minimums. No, we don't want mandatory minimums. We want to keep our mandatory minimums, excuse me. The threat is high, according to them. And notice how they have serious offenses here, including rape. I'm surprised they didn't put all sex offenses. They claim it deters violent behavior. Well, several years ago, Delegate Tony Wilt and I sparred in a constituent meeting, and he demanded to know from me the research. And I told him, well, I will find the research for you, but you will probably not respond. And where's your research demonstrating that in the 30 years or so that mandatory minimums have been out there, there's a 5-year mandatory minimum for felonies in Virginia. What's your proof it's deterred any felonies? You keep coming up with new felonies all the time. Apparently, it deterred jack shit. Okay? Oh, it weakens jail time for You know what it does? And creates soft on crime policies. It gives people a reason to be angry and to fight back and to claim that they're victimized all over again. Folks, they tried this a couple years ago, and I've never been in such a long meeting in all my life where people came, person after person, talk about how their loved one was injured by somebody who shot them. And even though that's terrible, and I would never visit that on anyone, removing the mandatory minimum will not bring your loved one back. What's the difference if they serve 20 years versus 30 years? It's still not going to do it. It's not going to do it for you. It's not going to bring healing. If 25 years has gone by and you're still angry and embittered and you have not moved on with your life, and I say this for myself, I don't want to do this channel forever. I don't want to keep being angry forever. But you know what? I'm not saying all police officers should be killed because of what they did to me. I'm not saying that you should not trust all police officers. I'm not saying that people don't hurt children. Okay? So you have to have a minimum here. At what point is 5-year mandatory minimum counterproductive? Just because you have a desire in your heart for revenge. Okay? And again, they make all these claims, but where's the proof? Again, there's no research anywhere on their site. None, zero. And you have to wonder then, are they just spewing Republican talking points? Or are they really interested, as they claim? If you go on their main page, it says they want Republicans and Democrats to come together for solutions. But this is a non-starter for most Democrats, and I suspect that many of these will be defeated. So if you are a Virginian listening to this, I urge you to vote for HB 1314. Vote for qualified immunity being removed so that police are not anywhere above us. They are on par with us. If they do what they're supposed to do, we don't have a problem with that. But for the ICE thugs coming through, who will surely come to Virginia now that the governor's mansion, the attorney general, the lieutenant governor, and the legislature are firmly in Democratic hands, at least for the next couple of years, you can bet they'll be coming here. And you can bet we need a law on the books that will protect us against them. And this is one such law, HB 1314, which denies qualified immunity to police officers if they behave badly and gives us a route to fight back against them. Because the Supreme Court has placed them up here above us, where in fact they're here serving us as a community should. This is Norman Michaelation for ICAC Unpacked. Have a good day.